Hear ye, hear ye. You are listening to An Old Timey Podcast. I'm Kristin Caruso.
I'm Normie C.
Wait. Hold your horses here, Mr. and Mrs. Old Timey. There's a new sheriff in town. DP is in the building. Now, when I say new sheriff in town, that kind of harkens back to the old timey theme, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's true.
Well,
can you explain a little bit what you mean by DP is in town? Because some of our listeners might not know what that means.
They might be worried what's going to happen to us.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm Daryl Pitts. I'm Kristin's dad, Norman's father-in-law. Did some guest appearances on the Old Decrepit. What did we call it? Old Decrepit?
Rotting podcast, yes.
Rotting podcast. I got to go ahead and tell the listeners that the most popular Let's Go to Court podcast was one that I did. And you can Google that and find that
wasn't.
out.
Yeah, I don't think it was, actually.
On my feed in Google, it said I was. So,
on your feed.
Yeah, on my feed in Google. Yeah,
the algorithm was like, this man is desperate. Let's just make up a story.
Okay, so that's a little bit of my background. But I've not been on this podcast before, but I am commandeering this feed to bring you a fresh history podcast, a new timey podcast, if you will.
Oh.
You guys seem to be stuck in the past, man. This is new stuff that I'm bringing to you, and it's interesting, and you're going to love it. And we'll get into it. But before I start, I need to give you guys some notes.
Oh boy.
Okay.
You haven't really asked for notes, but I'm going to give you some notes. Okay. You call yourself a sexy independent podcast, correct?
Yes, it's true.
Small, independent, sexy podcast.
Okay. You got sexy in there. But I looked at your guests that you've had on this.
Mm-hmm.
Judge Judy.
Yep.
A fine-looking woman. She's 80-something. I don't know whether you would call her sexy because
ageist.
By her own admission, they don't pay me to be here for my looks. They pay me because I'm smart. So you've brought on a guest that is not known for her sexiness, right?
Mm-hmm. Fair.
Then last year, you bring on Adolf Hitler.
He insisted.
Now,
he just came on to talk shit about us.
Well, yeah, but when you call yourself a sexy podcast, you got to have sexy guests. And this guy wasn't a good looker in his prime, and I can only imagine what he looked like in 2024.
You seen those lederhosen pics, though?
I've looked at all of them. I don't.
You've looked at every Hitler photo.
Nothing is in the sexy realm. Okay, then the last guy you brought on, Dr. Hubert Montgomery.
Oh, he's definitely our
Be careful, Dad.
Probably our most famous guest, actually.
Well, is he sexy though?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay, I Googled the man.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't sexy in his prime. In fact, he's been dead quite a while. So
no, he's actually alive.
He is alive.
I just emailed him the other day.
Have you ever actually seen him in person, or have you?
Didn't you see him on the podcast? Yeah.
You video called with him, or what'd you do?
Dad, are you revealing that you're not a patron at the $10 level, so you have no idea?
No, I am. In fact, I got to tell you, patrons, getting the video is the highlight of being a patron.
We slid into a commercial.
Oh,
folks.
nice little plug there.
You thought my dad was going to call us not sexy, which was weird enough. But here we go. Yeah, go ahead and do a commercial for us.
Well, no, I'm not going to do a commercial. I'm going to do one more piece on this sexy thing, and then we'll go into the.
Okay, sorry to interrupt your material.
Finally, now you have a sexy guest. Independent podcasts need sexy guests.
Yeah.
I'm 67 years old, in my prime.
Right.
I'm bald. I've got heart disease.
Yeah.
I'm a type 2 diabetic, but still young and sexy, good looking. Actually, a Bradley Cooper lookalike. That's what people have said.
Who has said that?
Patrons and other people on all your social media feeds.
Did you ever watch the movie Carrie?
I don't think I did. Oh, is that the lady gets the stuff dumped on her head? The blood dumped?
Yeah, people tell her a lot of lies about,
don't believe, half what you hear about yourself. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know what made me bring that movie up. I'm not sure. Anyway, continue.
Well, no, I think it is time to do a plug for the Patreon my only input is, I don't know how much it costs to get the video feed, but whatever level that is, that's where you need to be, because I love seeing you two And not only seeing YouTube, but then the added pictures and clips that are in there, hilarious.
Shout out to Joe, our video editor.
Joe, video editor, is doing a great job. But I don't know anything about other benefits, so you guys are going to have to take off and do that ad.
Well, for starters, that $10 tier is Pig Butter Investor. That's for people that are investing in the dairy product of the future, pig butter.
Yeah, I've heard about it just on the podcast.
Now these tariffs are going to hurt pig butter investors, but we're going to bounce back. We're bouncing back. Okay.
Is the pig butter? Is it coming from Mexico or Canada, or where's it coming from?
I was going to say, I thought we had local pig butter, Norm.
Both.
I thought it was being churned
We're
in our very own
pigs
backyard.
from all over North America coming in. Yeah.
Do we want to do a full blown ad or
no? I think this episode's weird enough. Let's just jump into it.
Sure.
If this is anybody's first episode, they're gonna be really confused.
Yeah, I apologize for that. So let me go back. I started thinking about my name's Daryl Pitts, but somehow I got this DP nickname slapped on me that has inappropriate connotations.
You gave it to yourself.
No, I didn't give it to myself. I have discovered where it came from. I remembered back in the day when I was first called DP.
It was when you were doing a video.
No, senior year of high school. I played on the basketball team, and the pep squad would decorate our lockers. They'd put a piece of paper over the locker and write, go DP and all this kind of stuff. So somebody wrote, "Kill Snakes DP." Now, the reason, and her name is Sue Antrim, good friend of our family. My parents and her parents were good buddies. She wrote Kill Snakes DP because my basketball coach, it was negative if you played like you were killing snakes because you were out of control. And he told me I looked like I was killing snakes one time. She heard him say, "Killing snakes." Killing snakes, like you're just
running all over the place.
That's old. That's old timey.
You're out of control. Well, this was an old timey coach. There's no doubt about that. But so I wanted to reach out to her and say, "Do you remember doing this? And is this memory correct?" And her response was, "I don't know. Let me ask my friend who helped me decorate your locker that year."
Oh my God!
And the friend said, "I have no idea." So I thought this was the origin of the DP story, but I couldn't get any confirmation on that. So you just have to trust me and my memory.
Well, for us, the origin of DP was when we were all in the car together and you were thirsty and you said you wanted to go down to Quick Trip, get a DP for DP. And Norman, the immature young fella that he was, tried to stifle his laughter because to him, DP doesn't necessarily mean Daryl Pitts or director of photography
or Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper, for that matter.
Or Dolly Parton.
No, there's a number of things.
Norman, I'm disappointed in you.
Why?
That your mind would go to somewhere in the gutter, right, Kristin?
It's disgusting.
It's disgusting. Our family, until you came along, did not live in that environment.
Yeah, we were.
Right, you had
we
no
were classy.
idea.
We were just the classiest people getting DP'd at the gas station.
That's right. Yeah, thought nothing of it. Sorry to disappoint you.
Well, that's okay, Norman. You have overcome that from so many angles. Everything's good now. We have welcomed you into the family, and we know you're not going to go back there into that gutter and have any kind of dirty jokes or anything.
No, he overcame it from the front, from the back, from the side, like every angle.
That's right.
Yeah.
Kristin, you have allowed Norman to pull you down into the gutter.
I'm sorry.
Well, Kristin was the one that told you to stop saying muffin.
Well, that was disgusting. Okay, everyone, if you don't know, my parents, their lovely little nickname for each other was Muffin for a very long time. And my sister and I years ago, tried to get them to stop. We told them that is slang for vagina. Please stop calling each other vagina. And they didn't believe it. They thought we were dirty. And God bless the late, great Betty White for doing a joke on SNL one time about her dusty muffin. And that finally put an end to my parents calling each other Muffin.
In front of you.
Sure, whatever it takes. Call each other Muffin all day long.
All day long in the privacy of what we do in the privacy of our own home.
That's disgusting. That's where it ends.
Jeez. How long have we been recording?
Hey,
feels like years.
I am ready to get into this the history hoes are waiting
Oh, yeah.
for this information that I'm going to provide.
Yeah, we don't even know what the topic is. You haven't said the topic yet.
It is a feel good topic. Let me do a little intro here.
But first, an intro.
Well, I thought that was the intro.
No,
we
this
just did.
intro to what I'm going to talk about, who I'm going to talk about, what I'm going to talk about. You know, you guys have gotten Lucille Ball and these other super famous people that you've done. This is not going to be someone quite so famous, but somebody who has really had a great life and has done some things that I wish I could have done or I would have done. Young couple, they're not much older than you guys. Both of them were born in 1980, which means...
Dad, this is an old-timey podcast.
No, did you hear me when I first started? I'm commandeering the Old Timey Podcast, and now it's a New Timey Podcast.
Oh, dear God. Okay.
So we're just the new timey podcast is just current events, or what's the show?
Wait a minute, this goes back to 1980. Now, come on.
That's when they were born.
That's when they were born.
They didn't do anything when they were born. They were just dumb babies.
Well, we're going to talk a lot about their first year of life.
Okay.
No, Kristin, you've got to be thrilled. Both of them were born. This is a husband-wife in 1980. What does that mean?
No age gap.
No age gap. That is wonderful in Kristin's eyes. Now, what hang up do I typically have with a couple?
You don't like it when it's a looks mismatch.
Here's the deal. They're both fine-looking young people. So no
Thank
problem.
God.
Thank God. So we don't have any of those dynamics that we've had in a lot of your cases. Well, back when you were doing Let's Go to Court cases. This is a young, good-looking couple, and let's talk a little bit about what they were able to accomplish.
We still don't know what the topic is.
No, we're gonna.
Is this like a mystery reveal?
We're easing in, Norm.
Okay, Norm, I'm gonna give you a glimpse. Boy, you're pushing. I've got a script here that's been well thought out.
Yeah, it's written by hand, by the way.
In hand.
That's very old-timey of you.
On notebook paper. Looks like it's been ripped out from the notebook.
This is okay. I'm gonna set this up, Norm. So you and Kristin, when you got married, you had corporate jobs.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you were working these corporate jobs, and corporate jobs are very comfortable to work in as long as you enjoy what you're doing.
Sure.
And you guys were risk takers. You said, hey, I want to be the gaming historian. I want to do Let's Go to Court. I want to do Old Timey Podcast. You guys have taken risks with your career.
Well, to be specific, I wanted to be the bad boy of YouTube. And I thought the way to do that is video game history.
And spoiler alert, he nailed it.
Oh.
Yep.
Who named you the bad boy of YouTube?
Oh, the public.
The public.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
You can't give yourself that nickname.
Well, so this is a story of a couple who were very similar in that they started off with those corporate jobs, and then they took a huge risk of giving up really good corporate jobs and then became very successful in that. I envy that kind of guts because I got to tell you, when Sheree and I got married, and, we went about 5-6 years before we had kids, and, we were kind of getting our financial feet on the ground. I would have been terrified to quit the corporate world and go do something on my own. I just don't have the gene in me, the guts in me to do it. You guys, and the reason I want to do this case is they did something very similar to you, but they became even more successful than you guys are. I hate that.
Wow.
Ouch, okay.
Well, I'm just kind of helping you understand maybe you could do more.
Oh, we're not doing
okay.
enough. Okay. Can we take guesses on who you're going to talk about? Can you drop us some hints maybe? Or do you really want to stick to this script here?
I'm not dropping any hints. The listener is, they're on the edge of their seats wondering,
You're right.
Who is this guy going to talk about that have been very successful?
Yeah, they're like, I can't believe they brought their father-in-law on the podcast, and I wonder what he's going to talk about next.
May I make a guess?
Sure.
This is an influencer couple that made it big and messed it all up. That's my guess.
You could not be further from the truth. This was a legitimate business that they jumped into. They created their own business and became extraordinarily successful with it. Not so successful that you've heard of them, though, I don't think. That'd be almost no way you would have heard of them.
Okay.
So let's just play it by ear. So
all right.
The two people are Mike Cochran and Natalie Jessup Cochran. Now,
The Cochrans.
The Cochrans. Let's not make any funny jokes, Norman. Hold it. Norman?
Look at
I
Norman.
know, I'm good.
Again, both born in 1980 in kind of separate small towns in West Virginia. Mike grows up very athletic. He's got the athletic gene. He's doing great in like elementary school, middle school. Mm-hmm. And when he gets to high school, he's a great athlete. He's a football player, a baseball player, a basketball player, and he's a big buff dude. This guy is strong. In fact, he won the weightlifting competition in his high school. Not a huge high school, but he's a big buff dude.
Now, does he have bench strength like you did in high school?
Let's not bring up that again, Norman. That's another
we've never mentioned it on this podcast.
We've never mentioned on this podcast?
Yeah.
Well, I was a bench strength person. In other words, when you don't start, you are bench strength.
Yeah, the newspaper was very kind. Bench strength.
I don't know why they put a picture of the four of us that came off the bench, and we were in the paper for some reason, and they should have, put a picture of the starters.
It's what you call a pity piece.
It's also really easy to photograph the bench strength boys.
Yeah.
Because they're sitting on the bench.
Exactly.
Get a wide shot here, yeah.
Okay, well, so now let me talk a little bit about Natalie. Don't have as much detail on her, but Natalie is wicked smart, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
If we have people from Boston, they're going to say wicked smart.
They're going to feel right at home. They were like, I was going to turn this off, but then he really spoke directly to me.
Here's the deal, though. They don't actually meet until their senior year of high school because they're in separate high schools that are close. So they meet at the mall, but, most high school seniors that meet at the mall are going to meet there, individually and be able to kind of flirt and, all this kind of stuff. Poor Mike, he's got his parents in tow and they're out to dinner at the mall. And he's got he sees this waitress waiting on him and, she's kind of flirting with him, but, he's got mom and dad. But that is the beginning of this relationship in their senior year of high school. And so they start dating and this thing moves really, really quickly. In fact, I read an article. So they are big enough. They've been highlighted in Forbes and Fortune and Wall Street Journal. So we get some background about, from their parents and stuff about how they were growing up. It's kind of neat to read through. But their freshman year, November of their freshman year, Mike calls his mom and stepdad and says, "We're engaged."
Oh, Lord.
Ooh.
And this is kind of what mom said. His mom said, like, "Oh, come on, kids, plenty of time here.
Still in college.
She says, her words were, 5 months after graduating from high school, they're engaged.
That's ridiculous.
That is pretty fast.
You got to experience the sausage fest. You can't just go straight into choosing your entree.
Norman, again, I think you've taken that down into the gutter when, you're saying sausage fest.
I didn't make that one up.
Okay.
That was not me.
Are you implying that you made up DP?
No. No, yeah, you can't blame me for all these, gutter references. I didn't make them up. I just laugh at them.
He's just the messenger, Dad.
Yeah, don't shoot the messenger.
Well, but Norman, if your mind was clean and clear of this gutter language, when you heard sausage fest, you'd think, oh, is there a German festival where we're going to go drink beer?
Let me get my lederhosen.
Yeah, lederhosen, Norman.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay, so you're already thinking they're jumping pretty fast.
Yes.
Okay, the next sentence is going to make you think they're jumping even faster because they got married after their freshman year of college.
Nice.
That's ridiculous.
That's early. That's early.
That's true love right there.
No,
now,
it's not.
I will say that's true love. I mean, it can be true love. Now they are good Christian kids, and a lot of times good Christian kids get married early.
Oh, sure.
So they can start having sexy times. Sexy times.
I'm going to be bold and say, I don't think you needed this soundboard for a button that's just your words.
Norman, I appreciate you having a button here that says sexy times because that is my catchphrase.
Yeah, and just so the listeners know, I texted DP before we record. I said, "What sounds do you want?" And he said, "Sexy times." So that is the only button
I need myself
currently active right now.
Sexy times.
There is a giant red button on the soundboard, and it just plays "Sexy Times."
Okay. So let's continue with the story.
Okay.
So they do get married after their freshman year, and I will tell you, as a person who was after my freshman year, that wasn't anything on my radars. It wasn't anything on either of your radars. I will say that Sherry and I got married after her sophomore year. Now, I was graduated already, so I've got some experience with, getting married young, but not quite as young as they were. Now, so you're thinking, okay, and you're like me, I'm kind of reading through this. And of course, when you're reading through the article, okay, well, they had a great situation, so it's not like it was going to be a problem, because these two were high-performing people. So they both graduate on time in 2003 from college, University of West Virginia. The cool thing is, Natalie, a lot of times when you get married, you just got to go out and get a job. Well, they worked through school. Natalie goes to pharmacy school, another 4 years in pharmacy school, and she becomes a pharmacist. So by 2008, gotten married, both undergraduate degrees and her graduate degree. Now, this is going to blow you away. They had a baby in 2006 and had a baby in 2008. This is...
So while she was in pharmacy school, they had babies.
Good God.
Well, what's he doing while she's in pharmacy school?
Oh, he's I'm going to call it a lower level IT guy. Okay. Here's a little clue here. As this whole thing progresses, we're going to find out that Mike, good guy, and all that kind of stuff, but she's the brains of the operation. In fact, her friend later on said, "This is a great company that they have. However, she's the brains of the operation, and he does what he needs to do to help with the company."
Sure.
And you got to have a leader, and she's the leader. So what you can see here is that we've got a situation. We got two high-performing, highly energetic, highly ambitious people who are really killing it. And so we're in 2008, and I'm thinking in my mind, if I was in that position in 2008 and I was the IT guy out there making a living, and she was the newly minted pharmacist who got a job immediately. Now, I will say, in my mind, pharmacists make a lot more than they do. I actually looked this up because I thought, well, I wonder what she was making.
They make really good money, don't they?
Well, I looked at it in today's dollars. It looked like they start at around $110,000.
Well, that's pretty good.
That's really good.
That's good, but for some reason, this is 8 years of school.
So you thought they were making like half a mil?
No, I thought they were starting at like 175 and up. But really, if you just work as a pharmacist at Costco or someplace like that, you're making between like 110 and 150,000. Again, a good living, but that's a lot of school for a good living. I mean, it's. I was surprised. I'll just say that.
I'm surprised that you're surprised.
I'm with Kristin on this one.
Yeah. But in fairness, everyone, I graduated from college in 2008. And I remember you were shocked that my job at a newspaper was only going to pay me $30,000 a year. So I think, you might.
Yeah, but I guess for some reason in my mind, I was equating a doctor of pharmacy or pharmacology or whatever they call it as way up into the triple figures. And it's today's, when I told you 110 to 150, that's today. And this is, so I don't know what she was making. But anyway, they're on a good glide path.
Okay.
They've got 7 years here before they start this company. So I'm going to kind of talk about how they get along before they start this company. Well, they're doing everything DP wants you to do. They're saving for their 401k. They're raising their kids. They're involved in their community. For example, Mike is coaching the kids when they get up and, they're doing little soccer when they're 3 and 4 years old. He starts getting them into sports, T-ball and all this kind of stuff. He becomes very, very involved in the community as far as helping with these leagues that the kids are in. And in fact, so does his wife. Even though she's working as a pharmacist, she helps manage these leagues, buying all the uniforms, getting the rental for the gym, getting the rental for the baseball fields, all this kind of stuff. I mean, they're so involved with this stuff, yet they're killing it financially for what most couples would. They're in their late 20s. Started early with the kids, so they've got kids to take care of and everything like that. Now, they do have parents that are able to help with the kids, and so that's good. Both her parents and his parents live fairly close.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, that helps a lot. So Mike's doing his IT thing, and she's doing her pharmacy thing. And they're involved with their church. They do volunteer work with the church. You kind of look at this and you're thinking, okay, this is the way this thing's going to end up. But like most ambitious, high energy people, they decided they wanted more. They decided they could do more. And I was thinking as I was reading through the article, okay, well, what they probably will do is she'll start her own pharmacy because, she's got tons of expertise in it. In fact, she had specialized in childhood diabetes research. I thought, okay, that's where you're going to start your own business. But they didn't go that route. They started researching together and looked at what are opportunities for us to have a company, provide services, and make money. And again, they weren't in it just to make money. They wanted to give back to the community. And they did end up doing tremendous things as far as giving back to the community.
So he's in IT.
He's in IT.
She's in pharmacy. With their powers combined, some sort of online pharmacy, perhaps?
No. Good guess, though. Mm-hmm. And it does relate to being online. I didn't even realize this was a thing until we sold our house in 2000 to a couple who had a company that supplied helicopter parts to the government and also to individual manufacturers of helicopters. So you can go online, sam.gov is an online resource where you can go bid. Anybody can bid on anything that the government needs. So while she's working, again, Mike's kind of getting pulled along on this by.
We understand he's a hot dummy. Okay, continue.
I didn't want to badmouth the guy.
I was going to say, it is funny. I'm realizing I spent too much time in true crime because I'm still waiting for one of them to murder each other.
Kristin, no, I don't.
No, this is a feel-good story, Kristin.
Okay, but this just shows you two don't watch enough true crime. It always starts as a feel-good story. It always starts as they were the perfect couple.
No, they're not perfect, but I mean, they got a lot of positives going on. I think, again, I was drawn to this case because I thought this is kind of a Kristin Norman story.
Hot dummy over here.
No.
Right?
I'm the hot dummy, yeah.
And I'm just dragging him along.
Very buff, athletic, good looking.
Yeah.
Most of that's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, Kristin started dating me when I was in middle school.
Shut up.
So it's a little different because they were the same age, right?
They were the same age.
Yeah. Yeah. Kristin was at the park, and she saw me leaving soccer practice. And
I'd been asked to not hang out at the park, but I said, so you can't tell me what to do. You need to stay away from that
middle school, ma'am.
They really need to put a restraining order instead of just asking you. It seemed like you needed more.
You know what a restraining order is, don't you?
Stay away?
Just a piece of paper.
Yeah.
This is
don't mean nothing.
You two have been watching too much true crime. Okay, so let me talk a little bit about...
Kristin said, I'm just watching them. Seems like a victimless crime.
That's enough. All right. Everybody, for the record, Norm and I are very close in age, though I am older.
Okay, so what Natalie starts doing is kind of what you guys started doing is she's got the full-time job, but she thinks, okay, I'm going to go on this sam.gov website and see if I can do some small buys of stuff. And they had good savings. And so the biggest thing about, selling to the government is you got to be able to buy the product, deliver the product before you get paid for the product. So
what's the government wanting? What can you sell to the government? He's about to tell
you, keep your pants on.
Keep your pants on, Norman, as they say.
They're on. They're tight.
I will tell you that eventually, so you ask what they got. They got, I'm not going to tell you what kind of contracts they got because I don't have it in front of me.
See? That's why I asked.
Okay. Department of Defense, so Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Homeland Security. I can't think of the last one. Anyway, they were getting these contracts, but you start off with small stuff. And for example, the government needs, masks. And this was pre-COVID, so they're not, it's not like they're hard to find or anything. But she sources masks and gets a profit margin by selling it to the government at a slightly inflated rate from what she can buy them for. And as long as she can get them there on time and at the price that she bid, Because you go online, it's like a bidding process to say, hey, I want to bid on this that's got to deliver in 2 months.
This feels like an advertisement for the government. Or do we enter a promo code?
Are you compromised?
Enter DP? Yeah.
I am not compromised, but
Dad, you spent a lot of time in Russia recently.
as I'm reading through this, I'm thinking, well, this is what the guy who bought my house did, and the guy wrote a check for our house. So I thought this is.
Was it a giant check or a standard?
It was a
check?
novelty.
You know, I wanted the giant. But
You should have asked for it.
He just wrote a regular check. In fact, his bank actually wrote it. You know, it we didn't have a big ceremony or anything.
No drama.
I needed that. So they do a few. They do a few of these deals, and it's mostly what she's doing. But she's making a little money, and she realizes as she's sifting through all these contracts, there are hundreds and hundreds of opportunities out there, but they're going to have some cash to be able to make this work because their cash, they're getting it back, but it's, you've got to have money to go out and buy this stuff. So they set up Tactical Solutions Group. Now, this is the name of their company. And I know you guys worked hard on, when you named Old Timey Podcast, you had all kinds of ideas.
Uh-huh.
We did. We had some fun ideas.
A lot of people hated our ideas,
Yeah,
though.
they did.
Boy, woof.
Yeah, it was pretty clear cut what people wanted.
Well, they didn't really source the ideas. But if you think about Tactical Solutions Group, tactical kind of sounds strategery like.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's seems like a generic production company.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think it's it inspires confidence. I mean, if it was Tactical Solutions Dudes, that doesn't work. You gotta have solutions in there. You gotta have group in there. So they formulate this company, Tactical Solutions Group. Now, what she needs to do at this point is they need to get some bank backing because, you can't, you're going to run out of your money. And I never figured out exactly how much of their money they had to put in to get this off the ground. But you go to the local banks. And so they worked with local banks for the first few years to secure loans to buy the stuff because they never had to, some of these companies have to make the thing themselves. But you can also buy them typically overseas and bring them in and sell them to the government.
Like an importer-exporter.
Importer-exporter. Now, you got the stuff, you got a little bit of a risk there. So you're going to have to make sure your stuff coming in from China is good stuff and will meet all the specifications. In fact, I've got a college buddy that was his whole life was he had a company set up in China, bought stuff over there, brings it in, sells it to U.S. manufacturers.
When was this?
My buddy did this. He worked for Hallmark for a few years, and he did this in the 90s. Probably he started sometime in the 90s and became very successful with it.
A lot of that stuff has gone away now with, the internet, obviously. It's like everyday people now can work directly with Chinese manufacturers and buy product. Yeah.
They start off with getting loans from banks, but the problems with loans for banks is you've got to make a monthly payment back to the bank for the loan. And so sometimes the inventory is an issue. So she reaches out to venture capitalists. Now, let me explain what a venture capitalist is. For example, on Shark Tank, those are venture capitalists.
So someone like yourself.
Someone like a Mark Cuban or myself,
right,
who has billions, can invest in a company, and then I get to own a piece of that company, typically.
Yeah. Why did you turn down Scrub Daddy? That was a great product.
Big.
But you said no.
Mistake.
I said no to a lot of things.
Well,
Uber,
you were so
Uber. They came at me with Uber.
Yeah.
I said, no, I don't think it's going to work.
You
ever heard of taxis?
Said, I think Beanie Babies are going to make a comeback, and that's where I'm putting all my money.
Oh,
right.
Kristin, don't bring up my biggest mistake of my investment career, Beanie Babies.
Beanie Babies.
I mean, I've got a vault of Beanie Babies right now. It turns out
a vault?
It didn't really work out.
Yeah, he kept waiting on that Princess Diana Beanie Baby to, really
There's still time. There's still time, DP. It'll turn around.
I'm holding on to them. Yeah, I don't want to get rid of them now.
We are holding Beanie Babies.
Now, my problem is, I did buy high, and right now it's low. So I know not to sell now. You don't buy high, sell low.
He bought them all in 95.
Okay, so that works, but you got to make those monthly payments to the bank, and the bank is in your business now. They're looking at all your spreadsheets. And
Oh, yeah. They want to know. They want to
gotta-
know how the business is going.
Yeah,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
because they're investing money. So what they were able to do is to also get some venture capital. But again, she is a sharp negotiator on top of being a smart lady in other ways. She doesn't ever give up more than 10% of the company to a venture capitalist, which is really the way to do it, because if you start giving up a lot of money to a venture capitalist, there goes your profits.
Yeah.
And she really kind of had it figured out. So she didn't need a lot of, she didn't need advice and all that kind of stuff. She had it figured out. So let me just say that this company took off like they had a rocket ship tied to their ass.
Whoa, language.
Whoa.
Chill.
We're a classy family podcast.
Tied to their rear end.
Yeah, they're bum bum.
Bum bum.
We say booty cheeks. Tied to their booty cheeks.
Okay, so I'm going to have you guys throw a number out. So for the first 5 years of their existence, what do you think they sold? This is the top line amount of sale, not their profit. But what do you think they sold in the first 5 years? I will tell you, they both were able to quit their jobs and work full time on this.
So total sales
over 5 years.
The first 5 years.
First 5 years.
Total sales. Government bidding.
It was all government bidding.
I'm going to go $400 million.
Oh, my God. I was going to guess 15 million.
Norman is actually closer than I would.
Are you serious?
Norman is. It was $500 million they sold in their first 5 years.
Damn.
So
$500 million
in
sales.
In sales. So I kind of thought about that, because I hear, when you see numbers, you think, wait a minute, it's sales. It's not what the company's worth. It's not their profit. But let's just say they had a 10%, because a lot of companies would shoot for a 10% profit margin, $50 million over 5 years.
That's wild.
Even if again, I don't have these numbers, but even if it's a 5%, $25 million over 5 years.
It's pretty good.
Now, so
it's not bad.
It's nothing compared to what we make on an Old Timey podcast.
Well, I was
but, we feel good for them.
I was going to ask, are you guys even close to that number?
We're past that, actually.
Oh, past
How do you think we get guests like Joe Biden on this podcast?
Oh, Joe Biden.
We got to pay up. Yeah, Joe Biden was on this podcast. Don't you remember?
Oh, well, sexy Joe Biden. No wonder you had him on your. I'd forgotten that one. I'm sorry.
We've fallen pretty far. We went from Joe Biden to your father. Kristin.
Ouch, he's right here.
I'm sitting right here, Norman.
Yeah.
Two old white guys on an old timey podcast.
Okay, so here's something else I totally respect about what this couple did. Most people at age, so they were 35 when they started the company. They had enough maturity behind. This isn't the 22-year-old athlete that gets a huge contract and ends up blowing it. They stayed in their same house. It's a nice 2-story colonial house. So again, they were doing well.
Yeah.
Did they paint the woodwork?
I didn't see the inside, Norman. I'm sorry. I did see a picture of the outside. That's
you say colonial. I'm curious.
It's set on 4 acres, in a kind of a upscale neighborhood type thing. Doctors and lawyers living around them. But they were already there before they started the company. So they did splurge a little bit. They bought a 1964 Shelby sports car, and that's a type of Mustang, I think. And that's what Mike wanted, and that was kind of a splurge for him. They bought an RV. They bought motorcycles.
Naturally.
And the one thing that I think they probably splurged on is Mike wanted to be a pilot. He didn't have his pilot's license, but he was working on it this time. And he bought an airport hangar, to
oh
store
my God.
planes. So, yeah, that's what I thought.
It sounds like they're using their money.
Well, yeah, and I don't know what that costs, but, that can kind of be an investment, because depending on where the hangar is, you can store other people's planes for them. And
they bought the entire hangar.
They bought the hangar.
Yeah, so you can rent it out to other planes.
And they didn't have an airplane, because he didn't even have his license.
bought the hangar.
They bought the hangar because eventually he wanted to get his pilot's license and his helicopter license. So, but again, this is, compared to what they were making, this is not super extravagant. You give me that kind of money, I would have had a new house I would have had houses elsewhere. I would have had a $2 million RV. The RV they bought was just kind of like what I would buy. It wasn't anything special at all. Norman, you're giving Kristin the side eye there?
Yeah, no, we're
I mean, they spent their money. You buy an airport hangar, you've got money.
Yeah. Well, again.
But also, Dad, you're acting like, oh, you would have gone and spent. Sir, you forget, we know you. We know you're. I was thinking of this morning. A couple years ago, you and Mom were going to buy an RV. And you were really agonizing over, which used RV you were going to get. No, you really wanted this one with this color and blah, 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 blah. But, couldn't do that. Instead, we're looking at this one that's a little cheaper. And I remember Norman just being mind blown because he was like,
yeah,
you two have the money to get what you want. Why don't you just get what you want? And you did. And that was like a big thing. So
it was. And I'm even beyond that now because so when you live your life a certain way,
mm-hmm.
and so I'm talking about Sherry and I now, you get into a habit of savings and living relatively frugally. Now, I know people would look at the houses we lived in and think, no, you spent your money, but we spent money on houses and we made money on houses. So that wasn't really kind of a losing proposition for us. But we did manage our money very carefully and we saved a lot of money over the years. So I can respect that I never got the kind of money they're getting. So
right.
I do recognize that now, for example, if you'd asked me 5 years ago, would you ever pay $8,500 for 2 Super Bowl tickets? I would say, you're crazy. I would never do that. And at a certain point in your life, you just do it because you can. And it's
and
good.
It was a great game. You loved seeing how well the Chiefs played.
Yeah, what a competitive game you watched.
You said, you know what? I am glad that I saved up for this moment.
Let me tell you, the Philadelphia fans, they're sweethearts.
They have that reputation.
I sensed some sarcasm in that.
I sat behind a guy. His seat did not get used much. And it always seemed to not be used right in the middle of a play. He would pop up like a little game show guy or something. He's up. And the poor guy sitting next to me, who was a Philadelphia fan who would have liked to have seen the game, he missed it all because these two guys in front of us popped up. And I like the way the Philadelphia fans boo anything that's not related to their team. Here's the Chiefs cheerleaders. Boo. Here's Taylor Swift. Boo. They weren't just booing Taylor Swift. Anything that was wearing red that got put on the big screen, they started booing.
Did they boo John Hamm when he introduced the Chiefs?
Oh, absolutely. They booed everything related to the Chiefs.
No one is safe. Not even John
Not
Hamm.
even John Hamm.
Oh, speaking of John Hamm, do you know that Nana's got some kind of crush on John Hamm now?
What? He's so ugly.
I know. I said,
She's got you at
you've
home.
got me right here. I'm right here.
Stale muffin.
Boy, she goes on to the Hulu website there and says, I wonder if there's any John Hamm movies. I said, how about we look for good movies? Oh, no, it's just John Hamm movies that we're looking for.
She goes on to the Hulu website there.
Did I say website?
Yeah.
Yeah. We can't change it. It's too good.
I thought Sherry was into Brendan Fraser. Has she moved on?
He's not been in a lot lately.
She's moved on. Sherry has, over the years, oh gosh, I wish I could think of some of the boyfriends she's had. Mark Harmon was one, and this is before your time. But
From NCIS?
I think so.
Yeah.
So Mark Harmon,
he's a good-looking guy.
He was the boyfriend. And then he was on SNL, and for some reason he took his shirt off and did not look buff at all. Boom.
Sherry got rid of him.
Mark Harmon's out. Tom Selleck, big mustachio Tom Selleck. He was a boyfriend for a while. Brendan Fraser. I think I'm doing them in order.
Right.
And now it's John Hamm. And she cannot get enough of John Hamm movies. And she's probably, if he has any books out, she's read the books too, I'm sure.
He's a good-looking fella.
He is
Missouri, I think he's a Missouri native, too.
Oh, don't tell me that, Norm. He's going to move back here and steal my wife.
Uh-huh. He's going to move right next door to you.
I like to think of, what was that first guy? Mark
Harmon.
Mark Harmon.
Mark Harmon. I like to think of Mark Harmon as being a big fan of this show, and he's just listening, unsuspecting, and then all of a sudden he hears, oh, wow, I took my shirt off for a bit, and some lady in the Midwest was like,
He's going to be hitting the gym hard now.
Yeah.
He will. It'll be good for him. And here's the thing. Who knows what he looks like now, because this was decades ago. He may have really gone to pot. Have you seen him on something recently?
NCIS has been on CBS for like 30 years.
Yeah,
He's been on that show.
Do they have any beach scenes?
I'm sure they do.
they cut all of them because the numbers in the Midwest
we
dropped
got to
off.
do some CGI on Harmon's chest. It's just not good.
It's not working.
Yeah.
It's not working. Hey, how about if we get back to this couple?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay.
Okay, so this is another thing I like, and a lot of people do this who get money, but they gave back to the community in significant ways. First thing they did, they had they sponsored a 5K run for juvenile diabetes research. And they did that because their neighbors and friends right there in their neighborhood had a child with diabetes. And Natalie and Mike put the thing together, got the sponsors, sponsored it themselves, raised a bunch of money for juvenile diabetes.
I think
great.
they should have raised it for research on juvenile diabetes. I don't think we needed to put more money toward it, personally.
Yeah, they're funding. They're funding for
it's
more.
really creating
That's
a bigger
messed up.
problem, I think.
Why not fund cancer if you're going to fund diabetes?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. That's why I always push back and read the fine print. Sure.
To see if it's research.
Are we funding the research, or are we giving money directly to cancer?
Here's the thing. Cancer's doing well all by itself.
Exactly.
It doesn't need our help.
It's catching on like wildfire.
But so many people, they want to fund cancer. Oh, I hate it.
It's a damn shame.
Okay, back to the serious part here. Their associate pastor at their church, again, very involved in the church, he was losing his home, and they rented a home for him for a year. So they were helping him, rent-free, stay in this house for a year. Here's a big one. They gave full ride scholarships to kids who graduated from his high school or her high school, anywhere they wanted to go, which included not only room, board, and tuition, but they put a stipend with it. So it could come from a family who really didn't have the means to even help the kid get there or get back. So they got the stipend and everything. So
they can get
That's really cool.
They can get unlimited meals in the cafeteria.
That's not what that means.
Norman,
That'd be sweet.
did you kind of miss the main? It comes back to food. These kids have got a full 4-year ride scholarship. And Norman says, can they eat unlimited in the cafeteria? Now, come on.
Scholarships don't always include your meal plan.
Well, this one did. Did.
Well then, you need to lead with that.
You can tell Norm didn't have a meal plan by the way he's like, the meal plan.
Meal plan.
I didn't have a meal plan.
Norman, were you packing a PBJ in your lunch?
I went to college in my hometown, so I just went home and ate lunch with my mom.
So you had free meals.
People thought I was so cool.
So you had free meals too. So let's not.
Yeah.
Okay.
My meal plan was awesome.
Okay, so another thing, so a lot of their giving is focused on the things they like. So his high school had an old, decrepit weight room. Of course, he's the bodybuilder guy.
Oh, yeah.
He outfits their weight room in their high school. Now, I saw a picture of this. I don't know what it cost to do that. It had to be, what do you think, $150,000 or something? All this weight equipment, the aerobic stuff. I mean,
how many shake weights?
Yeah, it's just all shake weights.
They had those hidden. They weren't really proud of the shake weights.
Oh, that's a shame.
Because they're only 2 easy payments of $19.99.
Yeah, it's really not a big deal.
Really, they could have saved a bunch of money. Why need all these free weights and all these machines and treadmills and stuff?
I'm just imagining an entire football team, each player with a shake weight.
That's all they've got.
And they've got Tony little gazelles for when they do cardio.
Just like the most awkward, weird workout equipment they could find.
Well, we wanted to do it, but we had $3,000. So everyone gets 2 shake weights. And what's it, Tony?
A little gazelle.
A gazelle freestyle elite.
I thought it was Tony Romo. That's what I almost said.
You wish.
Okay, so again, they're doing exactly what you should do when you get money. Not, giving it back to the community, saving the money.
Airport hangar.
Okay, let's not get hung up on the airport hangar, Norman.
Got to do that with your money. When are you buying an airport hangar?
I am not. I have no desire to fly.
Taylor Swift could rent the hangar from you.
Oh, she could land in my airport.
Right.
Yeah.
And, this is a good idea.
Yeah.
Then I could see Travis all the time and talk to Travis about stuff.
Yep. And you say, so when are you flying in next? Like, we'll let you know.
Our relationship's on the rocks.
Maybe we should
some
exchange
reason.
numbers.
Okay, I got a good. So we live near Smithville, Missouri. We don't live in Smithville, but we live near Smithville. It's a little town, and one of the teenagers started a rumor that Taylor Swift was at this restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this town is a good 30 minutes north of downtown Kansas City. There's not a nice enough restaurant for Taylor Swift to even drive by.
There's a good Taco Bell in Smithville.
Okay, good Taco Bell. This girl, I don't know how old she was, gets this started, and it spreads like wildfire. And people are like going to the restaurant, they're driving around, looking for Taylor Swift. And then of course, the news media gets a hold of it. And why you even check this out, I don't know, because it wouldn't take much to know, well, no, that's not happening. It's not. Taylor Swift's plane doesn't even land at the airport that's close. It lands downtown at the corporate airport, I'm sure.
Yeah, but she loves the Taco Bell in Smithville.
Yeah.
Well, she reached out to Norman and said, hey, what do you recommend in Kansas City? And he says, well, it's up north a little bit, but I'd go to the Taco Bell.
Telling you, they make it good up there.
Okay, hey, back to the story.
Right.
Back to the story. The history.
Right. They've got money and they're spending it wisely.
Wisely. Okay, so the other interesting thing I looked at was how did they divide the labor? Because, any two-person, this is essentially a two-person company. Mm-hmm. They have not manufactured anything themselves. But Mike's responsibility is to go through, and this is time-consuming to go through all these potential contracts out there. So his responsibility, again, doesn't take too much to understand what we can and can't do and shuffle the ones that they can do to Natalie so she's able to pull it together and figure out, hey, how soon can we get this thing from China or wherever we're buying it from and get it to the government, and can we make it work? So he's doing all that, and she's lining up the money and doing what I would consider the real logistics work and the finance work of the company, and it's working really well because they continue to grow and do all kinds of great things. Now here's where I've got
a question.
Yeah,
who had the more intellectually demanding job?
Oh, her, Kristin. Kristin, when you ask me a question that's not a serious question, I need to be more on the ball, don't I?
I love, there are some things, I love when you dance around something because you dance bigger than if you just said it outright in the first place.
Okay. He's not the sharpest tool in the shed, but he can sift through contracts. Okay. Here are the government agencies that did business with.
Oh, here we go.
Sorry about this. Norman asked me a question like 2 pages ago. CIA.
Oh.
What'd they sell the CIA?
None of your business.
Widgets?
Well, and this is part of the issue is these contracts, if they're with the CIA or with the Department of Defense, those are private contracts that nobody else can see. However, FEMA and Homeland Security, they'll do a contract with you without, because there's no secret to it. Mm-hmm. But when you're doing it with the Army, okay, where are you shipping that stuff? And so they start off with the small stuff, but then about 4 years in, the biggest contract they got was for dental equipment that was going to go onto Air Force bases, Army bases, Navy bases for use there, and then some for USAID to go into impoverished countries. So dentists, those Dentists Without Borders or whatever can go in and work on kids. So they were buying a lot of that stuff. And so it was starting to kind of grow a little bit. Okay, they get to the point where they're wanting to get into ammunition and guns and machine gun stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
It's kind of the next step as far as the government buys a whole lot of this stuff. So they had set up to go to fly to Virginia in early February of 2019 and meet with the Bank of America and secure a $300 million loan. Now, it wasn't going to They just want that $300 million line of credit, if you will. And Bank of America was pretty excited about it because obviously, they were continuing in this upward trend, and Bank of America is ready for them to come in on Monday, so they're going to fly out on Sunday afternoon. Well, they had some issues that came up, and they couldn't make that flight. But so Bank of America said, "Okay, well, we can reschedule." Now, Natalie has a health scare, not just a scare, a health problem that comes up later in 2019. She has leukemia.
Oh.
And so, everybody's a little concerned. The investors are concerned. She's doing, I'm going to say 90% of the work, in fact, maybe more. And they're concerned that she's health-wise just not going to be able to continue. So investors are kind of like, whoa, what's going on? So Natalie and Mike decide we're going to sell a big portion of the company because I don't even know, you can just prolong your life with leukemia. I don't think you fully recover from it. I didn't even...
I don't know anything about it.
Okay. Well, anyway, so she sells 49% of the company. So now she's basically, she has control, but she's giving up a huge chunk of the company because she kind of recognizes, I've got a 13-year-old and an 11-year-old, and I'm trying to manage this company and raise these kids. And then, again, still doing all this charity work and everything else she does. So she sells 49% of the company. And the investor, of course, now this guy is going to be, he's going to actually either have to hire people or work himself at the company for owning this much of it. But he feels like he gets a good deal on it. She feels like it's worth it because of the unknown future. And so he sends her a $50,000 earnest money deposit. And then he wants to do just what all the banks and everybody else have done, is to look into, what's the future here look like? She probably doesn't need that Bank of America loan anymore because this investor has got some deep pockets and is going to be able to help a lot. But the cancer is causing concern for the current investors as well, because they have noticed, the banks and the other investors that are in it just getting paid back. They don't own any of it. They've noticed those payments are coming in later. And of course, she's got leukemia, so you can understand that it's gonna take some time to get that done. But it goes on long enough that there are people who are saying, okay, we want a full-blown, accounting, if you will, because we've been seeing, a lot of these spreadsheets and everything looks real good, but we want a full-blown accounting of this situation. And so they put enough pressure on her, and she can't answer their questions quickly enough. And
it sounds terrible.
This is a bad situation. Yeah.
Well, and when people are all about the money, and that's what this is about.
Yeah, and they don't care that you got two kids to raise and everything else. They're concerned about it. At that same time, $30,000 goes missing from the Little League fund that she and her husband manage. They had just done a big fundraiser and got $30,000 in there, and then all of a sudden it's gone.
Uh-oh.
Now, the problem with these kind of situations is, while she and her husband have got, obviously spending ability, so do a bunch of other people, like the coaches of other teams and things like that. So they hire an auditor who comes in and goes through the books, and he, quite frankly, can't figure out who absconded with the money. It showed that, this person or someone took $8,500 out, somebody took $1,200 out. They can't see where it went. It's just out of the account. And the forensics, at least the audit that guy did, turned up nothing other than it's gone. We don't know where it is.
So she's forensics.
Yeah.
Like DNA?
No. Financial forensics.
They do a semen sample. They get it.
That's what I was going to ask. How did they collect?
See, again,
DNA?
Norman. You're
I'm going to need a sperm sample.
I thought this was purely a financial crime.
This was an audit. It is.
Okay, so obviously difficult situation, and one of the investors finally says, I'm going to the police. I think there is some fraud here.
From them, the couple?
Yeah, think the couple has committed fraud.
So this 49% dude is like, I think there's fraud in this company.
He's the one who actually started it because he was looking into it because he just sent him $50,000 and had just bought basically half the company.
Yeah.
So they come in and do an audit, if you will, and discover, I'm not sure about everything in here. So they bring in the SEC type folks who look into companies to see if everything's on the up and up. So they use the term raid, but they raid the offices because they have an office and then they have their home.
Right.
They raided both of them.
Damn.
And what do you think they found?
Nothing.
Kristin?
I'm assuming nothing
$30,000.
too. I mean, at the beginning of this story, I was waiting for someone to get murdered. And then I was told, no, this is a perfectly normal, nice couple. Let's admire them. So I'm assuming nothing.
You are wrong. Well, I take that back. They did find nothing. There were never any government contracts.
What?
Everything I've told you up to this point is what she has said to people. And she has created spreadsheets. She has fooled everyone. There never was a bank loan because banks wouldn't fall for this. She told people they had the banks behind them. She told people that they had the capital investors behind them.
Holy shit.
She had none of it.
Wait. So she made money by just having investors
Ponzi scheme.
give
It's
them
a
money?
Ponzi scheme.
No, that's not a Ponzi scheme.
Yes, it is.
No, it is. I'm just kidding.
Now, here's the thing. It's kind of a Ponzi scheme in that she took money from investors, but there was really never any evidence she ever paid anybody back. Anybody ever over 5 years.
So the 500 million. So was that legit? Did she make 500 million, or she just claimed we made $500 million?
She made nothing.
She made $0.
She made $0.
But she got money.
Yes.
She took in about $3 million from friends and family.
Oh.
So
Now,
she had $3 million. Also, you might imagine now, she did not have leukemia.
Oh my God. I hate this.
Wow. You got us.
Because
I was feeling bad for this lady, and now I don't feel bad for her at all.
Well, so here's the interesting thing. So this is actually a Dateline episode, and it's actually called Small Town Big Con, but I couldn't tell you any of that. I had to tell you that I was reading Forbes and the Wall Street Journal, and so that was DP making stuff up. But she was making the rest of it up. So,
I bet you're not even diabetic.
Yeah. I am diabetic. No, so listen to this. So they interviewed some of these friends and family that had given money. So the guy there in their neighborhood who was a lawyer, Chris Davis. Now, this is not the Chris Davis who played first for the Orioles, Norman. I know you're a sports guy.
Oh, yeah. Love Chris Davis.
His wife is Jennifer, and they were not only neighbors, church friends, coaching buddies. So they coached each other's kids' teams. They have a child with diabetes that they did the fundraiser for.
Now, was the fundraiser legit? Did that go through?
Who knows how much of that actually went?
I'm sure they gave a portion of the money, but I'm sure it was more about like, look at us, look at how good we are, look at what we're doing, aren't we great?
Exactly. These were as close as two couples can be. They vacationed together. Mm-hmm. Now, the Davises, he's a big-time lawyer. He's got money, and he lives in that neighborhood with them.
Sure.
He thinks, well, she's a pharmacist, and now she's got this other thing going, and oh gosh.
How did they decide we're gonna start a Ponzi scheme?
She's never going to admit how she decided to start a Ponzi scheme.
Damn.
It's just she saw an opportunity, and again, she was a really good manipulator. She was able to convince people. She convinced this lawyer that he couldn't see any of the contracts because the ones she asked him for money for were DOD and CIA and stuff like that.
Oh, so it's like this is top secret stuff.
He said he asked for the contracts, and she says, "Hey, part of the contract I signed with the government was I don't say anything about where stuff's going, what I'm buying, anything like that. It's just the money that you're gonna make money on it. Now you want to Norm, you did really well on what her made up number was for how much she had sold. How much do you think this lawyer and his wife gave them?
Oh gosh. Okay, so you said
she received $3 million.
She received a little under $3 million
from everybody, but
yeah, from everybody.
I bet they gave her like $150,000.
I'm gonna guess 300,000.
$511,000.
Oh my gosh!
And this is a couple about their age, and so obviously he's a smart guy, keeps his money put away, that kind of stuff. He's devastated. He is absolutely devastated.
Tell you what, I'd be knocking on their door.
What are you gonna do?
Give me my money back.
Well, you're going to get into why you can't knock on anybody's door anymore.
I just don't know how you get into that whole Ponzi scheme thing.
Well, listen to the story, sir. Keep your pants on.
DP said that she'll never admit to how she got into it.
Yeah, but he's going to give us.
I'm just wondering how you get to that mental state.
You're going to get some real good information.
Because I've never woken up one day and been like, I think I should start a Ponzi scheme.
Well, maybe that day will come.
Pig butter is not a Ponzi scheme. Let me tell you.
For sure.
That's a pyramid. I mean, that is a Patreon tier.
Has anybody ever gotten any pig butter? Hey, listeners, let us know. Have you ever actually gotten any pig butter as an investor?
We're still in development.
Yeah,
the
that's really
tariffs
rude.
are hitting us hard.
And
you promise it's coming through.
Is it being audited too? That was another one. It's being audited.
No, we're not under audit because there's nothing wrong with our business.
Yeah,
it's
top
perfectly
secret.
fine.
You'll be getting your envelopes in the mail. You'll know because they'll be wet and squishy.
I was going to say, these padded envelopes. It's those big padded
bubble mailers. You'll see some grease stains on the outside.
Yeah.
The problem is mail carriers hate us.
They do. But you can mail anything,
Let's talk about a friend of Natalie's, Tony McCall. Tony's a widow.
Widower?
Widower. Is that what you say, widower?
Yeah, when it's a man.
When the man dies, she's the widower.
She's the widower.
No. Hold on.
So,
When
She's
the
a
man
widow.
dies, she's a widow.
Yeah.
Oh, Tony's a woman.
It's a woman.
Sorry.
Tony,
T-O-N-I.
T-O-N-I. Yeah.
Kristin.
I apologize.
Okay, she's friends with Natalie. Mike coaches her kids, and Mike is like a second. She talks on the episode. Mike's like a second father, a surrogate father for her kids.
Jeez.
Coaches them, takes them to the zoo. Whenever he's taking his kids someplace, he goes and gets her kids, takes them. Just the greatest guy on earth. And Mike is a great guy. How much? They're about the same age, but
Why are you saying he's a great guy?
Yeah.
Well,
He was in on this scheme.
you haven't. The story's not over, Norman.
Oh, is he going to be like, I had no idea my wife was running a Ponzi scheme?
I'm just a hot dummy.
How much did Tony give?
Oh.
Again,
200,000.
No, because she's a widow. She doesn't have that much.
Well, but she probably inherited some money.
100,000.
250,000.
Damn, I win.
God.
Okay, the last
Norman.
the last couple I'm going to
Dad,
talk
could
about.
we just pause so that Norm can really revel in the glory of guessing that a widow gave a lot of money to a Ponzi scheme? Congratulations, Norm.
I'm just closer to the number. It
Yeah,
has
and
nothing
really
to do with
happy
her.
about
It's
it.
just
Yeah.
I was closest to the number.
Okay.
Do you want to celebrate in some way, Norman, or are
No,
you good?
I just
You're
think
good?
people should know that.
Norm, is that a confetti cannon you just pulled out?
Okay, so Mike's mom and dad,
Oh,
I say-
jeez.
stepdad. This is an older couple, and we're seeing in the episode their home looks very conservative. I mean, these are people who worked in blue collar jobs, and they're in their, I'm going to say 70s now,
Mhm.
and they're being interviewed about how much money they lost to Natalie and Mike.
Oh, my God.
Now, interestingly enough, they never talked to Mike about this amount of money. Never.
Just to her?
Natalie was the person who was raising the funds. Mike was going through the contracts.
Mhm.
Now, let me tell you, Mike actually was going through contracts. He actually was going through those thinking that we're making this much money. They gave Out of their retirement savings account, $256,000.
Oh,
And that
God.
is like
That's probably everything.
for blue collar families. That's probably everything.
It was everything.
Close
She
to
said
it.
because Natalie had told them that her parents had made $60,000 in 5 months through investment.
Well,
with him.
I mean, and yeah, why wouldn't you trust your daughter-in-law? Everything's going well.
You should never trust your children-in-law.
Is that right, Norman?
Mm-hmm.
I've been trusting you up till now.
I know, and you're really stupid.
God.
Okay, let me talk a little bit about. So these three people were among others who had given them money. They were probably the three. Well, they were the three people who had come on Dateline and talked
Yeah,
about.
I mean, a
getting
lot of
their-
people, when they get conned, they don't want to admit it. They certainly don't want to go on TV.
Yeah. Well, and Tony McCall, the friend, didn't believe it. And
Yeah.
we talked about that. It's easier to get fooled than to admit that you got fooled.
Yeah.
She says, I didn't believe it. They came to me and said this was not only just a Ponzi scheme, but no one got paid anything. They couldn't track it down because there was no legitimate numbers on any spreadsheet that was put together.
Right.
So she said, at first I argued, which is what a lot of people who get involved in Ponzi schemes do. They argue that, no, don't shut it down now because they still owe me money. They don't recognize that there was never any money there. Let me tell you about skeptical DP. I've got four, my closest friends, four guys, closest friends, all of them doing really well in life, and they're later in life. Two of them have actually run companies. And if they ever would have come to me and told me I could make more if I invest in their companies, one of them had that import-export business.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
One of them, after he retired from Hallmark, started a janitorial service. The other two, just buddies of mine that I trust with anything.
Yeah.
But if they came to me and said, I can make you a little more money than you're making or a lot more money than you're making by investing in the stock market, I would have said, I'm good. There's no way anybody, because I've had investment people try to talk to me about investing differently than I do. And I'm like, I don't trust you. I don't think you know any more about it than I do. So my skepticism, I don't think would ever allow me to fall for something like this because I'm just comfortable with plugging away. Again, risk. I'm not a risk taker. Some people think the stock market's a risk. Not in the long term, it's not. But I cannot believe people fall for this because it's beyond me that you don't research things more to find out what's real and what's not real here.
See, I think you're just kind of a special.
You're a special boy.
I think a lot of people are uncomfortable with money, uncomfortable around investment. Like, it's just not something a lot of us are really well educated on. And if you have someone you really, really trust, a family member, a friend, someone who you think is a really good person and who is working hard, and I mean, especially someone who is a pharmacist, I think that's...
Yeah, I went through 8 years of school. Oh, they probably definitely know what they're talking about. If they think I can make money, let me...
I watch TV, so I know a lot of people fall for this stuff. So it's when it's out of your comfort zone, you just can't imagine that people do.
The other thing I will say is when we hear about scams, none of us want to believe that we would fall for the scam ever. Even if it's one that we probably would. We don't want to believe it. We always want to. I think that's why it's so hard for people to come forward when they've been scammed, is because then you get all this judgment and all this, and it's embarrassing.
How could you fall for that?
Exactly. I wouldn't because blah, 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 because I've never trusted a pharmacist in my life. Their coats are too white, or whatever.
Hey, let me step back because I had to skip over a portion of this story as I was telling it because I thought it would clue you guys in too much to what was really happening.
Mm-hmm.
So when I told you that they were going to fly into Virginia to meet with Bank of America.
Right.
Yeah, that was weird how you were just like,
Well, they decided not to. Here's what happened that day.
Okay.
So they both get up in the morning, and Mike takes steroids.
Okay.
Okay, that's a given. He takes steroids, and he takes all kinds of supplements because he's too concerned.
How can you tell?
Well, I saw a picture of the guy. He's looking very steroidy.
Yeah, okay.
No, and his kids ended up testifying, and that tells you that we had a problem here.
Oh.
That he took steroids and he took all these supplements that Natalie didn't think he should be taking because some of them were coming from less than reputable sources. And so he was, I don't want to say taking illegal drugs, but steroids are, I guess, a controlled substance at least. And all of a sudden, Sunday morning, he hits the floor in the kitchen, passed out cold. And Natalie is like, whoa, what's going on here? And so she calls his friends, some guys that were actually working on their house, doing some of that renovation that they did. And she has them move him to the couch. And he's like barely conscious, very groggy. And she says, he tells her, do not send me back to the hospital, because he had gone to the hospital and they'd given him a hard time about taking steroids and these supplements and stuff, because she had taken all the supplements after show what all he was taking. And this is a previous time, so he says, never send me back to the hospital. So she takes pictures of him and calls his friends and say, come and see if you can talk him into coming, going to the hospital. And several of them come, and he's just totally out. He's not conscious. And they say, you got to take him to the hospital. You got to call 911.
Call an ambulance. Yeah.
She doesn't. And finally, the buddy, the Chris Davis guy, he comes over and he just he says, no, he's going to the hospital. We're taking him to the hospital. They take him to the hospital. He is in a coma when he arrives. He's in a coma for 5 days. He dies after 5 days.
Oh.
Now, no foul play suspected. Everything's good.
You just take too many steroids or something?
Well, what she said was she says, I don't know what, here's everything he's taken. I don't know what he took. And they buried him and everything's good. She's still trying to run the company by herself. So I didn't tell you that the last 4 months she was trying to run the company.
So they didn't run a autopsy to look for substances inside of
called it natural causes because of so some doctor must have felt like, well, all this stuff he was doing, natural causes. 4 months later, when they go in and raid the house, they find a vial of insulin.
Oh.
Juvenile diabetes.
Nobody.
That's not.
Well, maybe they're giving away. I don't know.
What are you talking about, Norm?
She's big on juvenile diabetes.
Norm, it's not time to defend anybody here.
Yeah,
I'm just playing devil's advocate a little bit here.
Okay, so let me tell you what happened. They go in and they photograph everything, take anything suspicious, and they find a vial of insulin. And now they got to figure out where'd that vial of insulin come from, because none of the 4 people who live in the house take insulin or are diabetic. And what they discover is through phone texts is that Natalie had called her or had texted her friend Jennifer saying, hey, I know it's weird, but Mike takes a little bit of insulin to help cut muscles and make his muscles more cut.
Oh my God.
And it's like, yeah. And she says, can you send some insulin over so we can use it today because it's Sunday and it'll just be easier. We'll get it replaced. He gets it all the time. And so she bags it up and has the guy's best friend take the insulin in a bag and leave it on their front porch.
Man,
that is diabolical.
And so they find this, and so they kind of knew all this while they were doing this investigation, but she gets convicted, or she admits to the fraud and is spending 11 years in jail. So she's in jail now. But now they exhume the body.
Yeah.
And check it out, and, it's got insulin in it. His blood count, I'm going to forget the exact blood count, 21, I think. And it should be about 100 or something, between 80 and 100.
The research you've done is astounding.
I know.
Brilliant.
Hey, I didn't come here to be made fun of.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, so she goes to trial for murdering her husband.
Yep.
And she has the kids testify that he took steroids and all this kind of stuff, but showing that she had asked for the insulin that morning. I mean, it had come in that morning. And then
I take back what I said about her being smart. Now I'm telling her how to do it. You've got a friend who's got a kid who's diabetic, and you didn't just go over there and raid the medicine cabinet. You put this in a text message. You involved multiple other people, and then you didn't even throw the insulin away.
It's amazing the number of dumb mistakes that were made.
But when you're getting away with all of this stuff, maybe you feel like no one's going to catch me for any of it.
I have a question.
Yes.
Did she inject him with the insulin, or did she replace his steroids with the insulin so he thought he was taking his steroids, but it was actually insulin?
They were not able to prove any of that, which when I'm watching it, sometimes you're like, ooh, she may get away with this, but she didn't.
Yeah.
She probably injected it in him, because you'd have to give him quite a bit.
I would think
to get him. What's the medical term? Hypoglycemic or hyperglycemic. Either way, yeah, he would pass out and.
Oh God, that's awful.
And and the other thing is, what person? And she tried to involve others by inviting people over, but then he kept telling them, he says never to take him back to the hospital again. He can't do it.
So that was a lie.
So, that's so messed up.
Don't take him to the hospital.
Well, when you said she took pictures of him and sent them to his friend.
They showed the pictures. They showed the pictures she took. And he's almost like he had just dropped in a kind of semi-fetal position.
That's so disgusting to involve other people.
And then to call the...
also to murder your husband. I'm sorry. I realized how that sounded.
Can't believe you made those calls.
So the end of the story is that she's then found guilty and then found... no mercy. In West Virginia, you can either get mercy, which gives you some parole opportunities, or no mercy. And they gave her no mercy. And his mom got up there and spoke, and Chris Davis got up there and spoke. And, they're just devastated because Chris felt like he was part of it. And Jennifer, his wife, who she texted to get the insulin. And, of course, then they have medical people and people who work with bodybuilders on getting strong, says nobody takes insulin.
I was going to say that sounded weird.
Totally made up.
Yeah, that's not a thing.
Did Jennifer lose her license?
She's in prison for the rest of her life.
Jennifer.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Jennifer. Jennifer was not...
She wasn't a pharmacist.
She wasn't a pharmacist. She just had it because her son had...
I'm sorry. For some reason, I thought Jennifer was a pharmacist. Never mind.
No,
but Natalie's still practicing in prison. She's giving out drugs in prison now.
You know what? They should have put her at the prison library, I think. I don't think she needs to be around those drugs.
Take 2 of these.
Okay, so I apologize for tricking you guys. Here's my biggest worry coming over here, is that you're going to figure it out. And I thought, okay, if they ever say anything that sounds like they're starting to question whether or not this is a real deal, I got to stop them. And I've got to really emphasize how much I love and respect the way they're managing money. And
I was really like, he really came over here with a feel-good story about a couple starting a business. Like, wow. I was prepared to be bored.
Going.
I mean,
I was wondering where this was going.
Hell?
That would have been kind of boring. Not
necessarily.
Well,
I do think some stories of companies starting off, it can be interesting, but you really weren't giving us the building blocks of that. And so I was just kind of like...
There were no building blocks.
And then you said, this couple reminds me of you two.
I knew that would throw you off too. So here's the deal. I didn't want, when she killed Mike and got away with it, I didn't want to say that before I said she got caught with the fraud, because I thought you would figure out she's a pharmacist and her husband dies. She killed him. She killed him. So I pulled that out of the story and then inserted it at the end.
Boy.
So did she
I hope
ever...
the listeners feel betrayed too.
No, I'm guessing there's some listeners that are going to say, I recognize those names. West Virginia, I remember seeing, it was on Dateline like 3 weeks ago. So somebody's going to probably think they're going to love it because you guys didn't figure it out the whole time.
So you came onto An Old Timey Podcast.
Yes.
You presented us with a story from less than 10 years
10
ago.
10 years ago, essentially, yes.
And it's a true crime story. Incredible.
But it was sold originally as a new timey history podcast.
Wow.
Huh.
Our history fans are going to love this story. Let me tell you.
This is more for entertainment. Just consider this a break between,
Sure.
Smalls and whatever Kristin does next.
Mm-hmm.
We've got some people who have stuck with us from Let's Go to Court, my old rotting decrepit podcast. We've got some new folks, the History Hoes, and boy, are they in for a treat.
I hope they enjoy it as much as I enjoyed doing it, but maybe they won't. Maybe some people, although, boy, it looks to me like I'm a popular figure to come back on the podcast.
Oh my God.
I mean, it's just I'm reading the comments and
It'll be great.
What if people sign up to get the video of this episode because they believe your intro about how good looking you are, and then
Like,
they
wait
demand
a minute.
refunds?
they say,
Wait
wait
a
a minute,
second.
Bradley Cooper. I'm not seeing the Bradley Cooper.
Huh? I see a human man. I mean, that's where the similarities end, though.
Kind of a mashed potato face human being.
Potato face. Dad, you'll be thrilled to know that because this is a DP episode,
Yes.
we are messing with the format a little bit. We went to our Discord today. We said DP is in the building, and by the building, we mean our house. And if you've got questions for this man, you let us know. So are you ready to take some questions from the listeners?
I have expertise in almost all areas. So
Oh, good.
That's what we thought. And that's why we asked our listeners.
So
Okay.
You got anything?
hopefully it's a broad range of questions.
It absolutely is.
What have you got? Also, I hope there are no questions that really make fun of me because I've seen those kind of things that really poke fun at an old man.
Yeah, we would never do that on this podcast.
Okay, so this will be legitimate questions where people really need serious advice.
Oh, this is interesting. SJ wants to know, DP, what is the worst marriage advice you've ever received?
Boy, I don't know that I reach out for people to give me marriage advice.
Because you're such an expert in everything.
Well, I am far from a perfect husband. Let me just say, ask Sheree. She will indicate that a lot of improvement could be given. I will say that Sherry has had me on a PIP. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with the HR lingo, performance improvement plan. That's for those of us that, we're not going to get fired from the job as husband, but a lot of improvement is needed. So I've been on a PIP plan,
40 years now?
The first 3 I was not on a plan, and then I went on a performance improvement plan. And I'm hanging in there. I'm just hanging in there. So I don't know that I've sought, or because Sherry gives me all the advice I need. Really, ask your spouse what marital advice they would give.
Just do whatever your spouse tells you. That's the advice.
Oh, Lord. Oh, Carrie Daniel wants to know, for all of us who have lost our dads to right-wing propaganda, will you be our new dad?
I will be glad to be your new dad. I just listened to a podcast about a guy who had lost his dad to right-wing propaganda, and they had a $10,000 bet. His dad said these 10 things were going to happen during 2024, and none of them happened because they were literally crazy.
So this is like deep in the rabbit hole kind of stuff.
This guy is deep in the rabbit hole. The dad not only was alienated from his daughter, the guy who was doing the podcast's sister, because she came out to him as gay, and he, of course, deep right-wing guys don't like that. But he did push his dad in a corner to say, "Dad, give me 10 things that are going to happen this year." And he came up with 10 things. And it was like the Clintons are going to be convicted of treason and murder. And Joe Biden will be out of office and Trump will take office before the election. You had 10 of these things.
So not going to have an election in 2024. Trump will
take power during 2024. And it turns out this guy was listening to a lady, a Christian preacher lady, and believed everything she said and didn't believe any of his friends or family or anything else. So he loses the $10,000. And do you know what his response was at the end?
What?
It's not happened yet.
It's not happened yet.
So
just a little delay.
He paid the $10,000, but all that stuff's still going to happen. So
I see.
Some people, when they're deeply embedded, you're not pulling them out.
It's what you just said. It's easier to be tricked than to admit you've been tricked.
Yeah.
Now I do have to call your ass out, because you are progressive old white guy, bit of a unicorn. But when you were down in New Orleans for the Super Bowl, good old Fox News was there looking for people to interview. And you, oh my, don't make me sing. Don't make me sing. You sashayed over to the reporter. You sang your song. You were a happy guy.
So, yeah. So this guy with a camera just says, hey, will you be interviewed about the Super Bowl? Or he said, are you going to the Super Bowl? And I said, yeah. And so he said, can we interview you? So then I look and see it's Fox. And so I just think it's a local Fox guy.
Sure.
So I said, are you local Fox? He says, no, national. It'll be on TV tomorrow. I was like, well, okay. So yeah, he asked me a couple questions. He asked any predictions or something. And I said, three-peat, baby. Mm-hmm. And they didn't do my three-peat, baby, which is my best quote. They got me stumbling around about what, how much the tickets costs and that kind of stuff. But I had that three, and I walked away thinking, man, they're going to use that three-peat, baby. That was strong.
And they cut your best line.
They cut my best line.
Gut-wrenching.
There's some editor at Fox News who they said, no, we're not going three-peat, baby. But that was classic. You saw what I did, which was just terrible.
I didn't catch it.
We couldn't watch the clip.
No, well, I just
you looked good.
They said, how much did you spend on your tickets? So I tell them what I would spend on the tickets. And are you excited to go to the game? Yeah, we're from Kansas City, blah, blah, blah. And, so he talks to me for probably 2 minutes, and there's 12 seconds on there or something.
Gosh, and it was 2 minutes of solid gold.
Yeah.
Now, why he asked you to show your tits and then he threw you those beads, we don't know. Maybe that's just
was that off camera?
That was off camera. Yeah. They don't want that stuff on camera.
Once again, the gems are on the cutting room floor.
Hey, let me tell you, when they came up to us, Sheree Ray's right there with me. They came up to us. She ran to the other side of Bourbon Street so fast you couldn't. I wasn't sure where she was after we finished because where'd Sheree Ray go? Because I think she was afraid that I was going to wave her in or something.
Well, yeah, Mom does not want to be a part of anything.
Nope.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Okay, it's a question about Costco.
I was just there last night.
Sarah wants to know, what is one thing at Costco that you think is actually a bad deal and not worth buying?
Well, anything you don't need. When when you manage your financials conservatively, anything you don't need, and you walk in there and you think, well, wouldn't this be cool? Well, I'll give you one.
Yeah.
Okay, so Sherry and I walk in, and they've got this outdoor bar thing that you set up in a patio area.
Okay.
Really cool. And if I would have bought it, it would have been the worst investment of my life because I would have put it together and it's like, I don't really have a great place for it. And how often are we going to be, sitting out here when we've got places already to sit outside the house? So something like that, you think, oh, how cool is that? But then, wait a minute, who needs that? We don't need that.
We're looking more for a product you have purchased.
He answered this in the most accurate way, but it also happens to be the most boring way. That's how the financial advice goes. Yeah, I think we stick with this.
I'm looking for something that you've purchased from Costco, and you're like, ooh, I'm not buying that again.
Boy, I can't think of anything. Now, so Sherry buys all the food products. I don't.
I see. You just do whatever she says.
So I know you bought some terrible beer at Costco, right?
Oh, legendary
terrible beer.
Terrible beer, yeah.
I've never bought beer at Costco, so that's not been a problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would have trouble with something specific. It's just that because if I see it and because I think about it. I don't just like, I'm not an impulse guy.
Yeah.
I'd have
you
to
stick to what you know.
Yeah.
Yep. Chicken bakes.
Chicken bake's good.
Dr. Pepper.
Trying to lay off the Dr. Pepper a little bit, but got to have some of it.
Have you switched to zero sugar?
I'm doing a lot of zero
diet?
sugar. Although I will tell you, I was out at a place walking with a buddy of mine, and they had a vending machine, and all it had was regular Dr. Pepper. And I knew that, when you've got the type 2 diabetes, you shouldn't have it, but boom, slammed it.
Slammed it.
You said, "Hey, I'm out for a walk. I'm gonna walk this off."
16 ounces of ice cold Dr. Pepper.
Yeah,
I couldn't resist.
No regrets. Snow-ridden Wolf wants to know, what's the worst you've ever embarrassed Kristin and Kyla?
Well, I know you told a story where I embarrassed you when you were in college by helping you return an item and trying to negotiate even better deal. And I was being, I think you called me a Karen, and I think or Ken, whatever a male Karen is.
Were these the pants?
These are the pants.
Designer jeans.
The designer jeans.
And you'll have to go back into the Let's Go to Court archive that I was on and find out that one. But I know whenever I pull my shirt off in a restaurant.
Oh, God.
Like if I have a hoodie on, like Norm's wearing a hoodie there.
Yeah.
If I was going to pull a hoodie off, specifically if Kyla and Kristin are there, I will pull it off knowing that my undershirt is going to pull up with it, and they'll be seeing the action.
Skin.
It'll look like Mark Harmon. And I have done that a few times, and Kristin and Kyla and Sherry too, they are so embarrassed, and they don't realize that the more they react, the more I do it.
That's what they don't realize, Norm.
Yeah.
And so if the other people in the restaurant see this man's hairy nipples and they get offended, that's on us in a way.
You shouldn't have been looking.
We shouldn't have been reacting. They shouldn't have been looking.
I'm a little surprised that there aren't pictures of myself out on social media doing that, because you'd think it's such a show that people would have been able to video it as many times as
it's a real mystery why there aren't more photos of you on the internet with your hairy nipples.
I know. It's out there. It's out there. So I know those are embarrassing. Kristin, you asking how much I embarrassed you, you have to. Are there other things besides?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No, that's it.
So no more embarrassment then.
All right, I've got one for you.
Okay.
Accidentally Naked wants to know, DP, how do you feel about Kristin and Norm's fancy new toilet? Very controversial purchase. Let's go to the no spin zone.
No spin zone.
Let's get your raw reaction.
That seems like $1,600 for a toilet is way, way, way more than I would ever spend.
Now, have you used the new toilet?
I have not. So maybe I should withhold judgment until I've used it. I can't imagine how much better it would be to make me, because what's a toilet? Like $300? A good toilet's $300 or something?
Oh, you can get a decent toilet for $150 probably.
Oh, you could have toilets in every room of this house? Is that what you're saying?
In every single room in this house, you could have a toilet.
Now,
don't worry about the plumbing or anything.
Oh, you could
set a toilet in every room.
No, go ahead and get it plumbed. I think
that's going to cost a lot more.
No, my feedback would be, you guys must be doing really, really well.
Wow.
It's like the airport.
That's his sassy thing. When someone buys something really nice, and something that he would not purchase, like anybody, if they've got a boat or a brand new car or anything, you must be doing really, really well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that, that's my take on it, is that I would never do it. But at some point, people buy airplane hangers that don't have licenses. So people buy stuff that they don't need, but it's comfortable for them and they like having it. So I'm fully supportive of the $1,600 toilet.
Does it help that we bought it thanks to the pyramid scheme that we're running?
Oh, the pig butter.
Well, yeah, because that airplane hanger, that's not really their hard-earned money. So does that make it better?
Yeah, that's just part of that lawyer's money that he gave.
Yeah. NY Titch wants to know, Mr. DP, how do I find a good husband?
You need some dating advice.
Yeah, I tell you what, you are asking the right guy. Ask a 67-year-old guy that has been married for 43 years about finding a husband, and I'm going to have some rock solid advice.
Yeah, but you're shooting down offers left and right from women.
Well, I had to for a long time, but eventually you age, and people are like, I don't know whether I need any of that or not.
They see you take off your hoodie, and they're like, well,
whoa. They see you in the restaurant. They're like, oh, my God.
Maybe I won't talk to that guy.
It's like that Mark Harmon thing, right? So it's like, whoa,
Ooh.
I'm out on that. No, so this person's looking for advice on finding a husband.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
it is?
They want some good qualities for finding a husband. How do you find a husband?
See, I'm sure there are good websites available for that.
Craigslist.
Yeah, Craigslist would be that's probably the best one.
I don't know about that.
So, boy, I don't know. I absolutely don't know. It's not my area of expertise. How old is this lady that's looking?
Well, I have no idea.
Oh,
we don't ask people's ages in the Discord.
Well, I would probably have some excellent advice.
She's at least 13 years old. We know that. You have to be at least 13 to join Discord. So
and this could be a dude. NY Titch. I mean,
that's true.
I'm just really let down because you acted like you had a lot of expertise, and then we just, throw you kind of a softball, and you got nothing.
Well,
wait a minute. Now, here's a question you can answer.
As if I haven't answered all these others.
Doodaloo wants to know, what is the secret to relationship bliss? You and Sheree sound like a very healthy and happy couple. What's the secret, DP?
Well, we absolutely are. And the secret is to be patient with each other, because if you can't be patient, if you're going to have so high expectation the person can't live up to them, that's not going to work. They're going to mess up. Now there are mess ups that would end a marriage, obviously, but they're going to mess up. You got to work at it. You got to find out what the other person needs, wants, and desires, and try to help them with that. For example, Sherry wants coffee in the morning. I get up and make her coffee every morning.
Oh, isn't that sweet?
Adorable.
Mm-hmm.
No, but seriously, it is about not being, just staying in your own lane and doing, hey, I do what I want to do. She does what she wants to do. No, that doesn't work. You got to find common ground. You've got to find things you enjoy doing together because, well, for example, we both like to go camping and hiking and four-wheeling, and the more kind of stuff you enjoy doing together, the better off it is.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean everything, because Sherry does not like sports. She watches baseball a little bit. She'll watch football just because you live in Kansas City and you have to watch football now. But you've got to find those commonalities and then at the same time give space for when. Like, I shouldn't expect her to want to watch every football game I want to watch. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So, but patience and kindness and put yourself in their shoes, all the kind of things you'd have in any relationship. That's what you got to do.
Dad, I've come up with a new career for you. I think this would be amazing. There are so many wonderful reality shows, like Love is Blind, all these dating shows. And what they need is a sassy man to tell it like it is to some of these couples. I think that could be you.
You can be that man.
I'm ready. Is it? Have you got anything specific in mind?
I have no connections. I've got nothing lined up. I'm just thinking you could really tell some people off in a funny way that I think would be good television.
I'll put my agent on that and see if he can line me up.
Dr. Hubert Montgomery is my agent.
Is that right? How's that working out for you?
Good. Very good. I'm on this podcast, so he's doing a great job. Okay. Real estate question for you.
Okay.
Snapple says, "Oh, wise DP. My husband and I are currently trying to sell our home in Texas and leave everything we know behind and move to Pennsylvania. Any advice on big life changes like that? Any tips on selling a home?"
It frustrates me when some people, they feel like the home has so much emotional attachment for them. It sounds like these people are ready to leave, so there's not going to be a ton of emotional attachment, because the times I've seen things kind of fall apart is when people oh, we've raised our kids in this house, and they think it's worth way more than it is.
Yep.
And what about my apple orchard out back? And, they've got stuff that people just don't care about. And so it's a matter of understanding what you've got and listening to some outside advice on what it's worth so you can sell it, because the people who can't sell their houses, either they want too much or they don't want to do anything to fix it up or anything like that. So my recommendation is get it on the market at a reasonable cost, do an estate sale to get rid of your stuff. If you're starting fresh, take the precious heirlooms that you want to Pennsylvania. I think they were moving to Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm. Precious Moments figurines. They should keep those.
You got to have those.
Yeah.
And in fact, stop by Carthage, Missouri, where they make those,
museum,
and pick up some
Get
more.
You're going to want
Pick up some
more
It's
for the
going to
new
be
house.
only slightly out of your way.
Yeah.
So swing by there. But also, I always hope that when somebody says something like that they're not trying to get away from something. Like there's something they don't like about Texas that, unless it's weather, is going to just follow you. If you've got issues around something within your relationship or anything like that, don't move for that reason. Move for
trying to run away from your problems.
Yeah, don't run away from your problems. But if you got a good reason to be in Pennsylvania, I hope they don't become Phillies fans. That's the only thing I worry about.
It'd be a damn shame.
It'd be a damn shame.
Now, you've had some real estate clients who were very against making changes to their home when it was on the market. So you would give advice like, hey, maybe you should paint this room. Maybe you should get rid of some of this furniture. How do you deal with people like that?
Well, you can tell real early on when you suggest that most people might find this maroon, 1981 dining room a little too strong, and maybe it could be more of a beige color because you want to appeal to the broadest number of people. When they argue with you about that, you don't need to give them any other advice. You just give them a price.
Yeah.
And you say, and they say, well, we think it could be $15,000 more, $20,000 more. Well, if I was doing it, I might make some changes, but it sounds like you're not interested in doing changes because in people's mind, they think everyone sees the world the way they see the world.
Yeah.
And I've had numerous people argue with me about outdated paint colors, about wallpaper that looks bad, and they just don't want to, either they think everyone has their same taste or they just don't have the energy to do it or the money to do it. And in those cases, you kind of help bring them down to a point where we can have the price at something that's going to sell. Or you say, great, let's start at that point and let's give it a couple of months and see what kind of feedback we get. Because in the Kansas City market, I think most markets, people can give feedback on the house. Mm-hmm. And many times people will say, oh, you know what, it's really dated and I don't like the colors and too much wallpaper to take off, and they'll give you some of that feedback. Right. Which what you hope is it's exactly what you have told them. And sometimes they come up with different reasons they don't want the house.
Now, do you ever rub it in their face like, I told you so?
Told you.
Do.
Stupid.
I like to do a sing-songy. Told you so. Told you so.
My real estate agent is belittling me.
No. So as a part-time agent after I retired, and I didn't really need the money, I'd lose clients because, I could tell that they're not going to.
Because you did the song and dance, and they just said, he didn't have to do full choreo for this.
He didn't.
He had a whole.
And he pulls his hoodie up and shows his belly. What's up with that? Mm-hmm. Some people don't appreciate your talents.
It's true. I've noticed that.
Well, when we sell this house, I'm not taking down the Linda Evans advertisement behind you.
No, because that adds value to the house. And people will ask, will that stay? And you'll say, for a price, bucko.
Hey, Norman, I have told you that this microphone is blocking my view of Linda Evans when you're on camera.
Yeah.
There's nothing more disappointing than seeing a microphone and your mug and not seeing Linda Evans.
Oh.
You'd rather look at Linda Evans.
I want to look at Linda Evans. Yeah.
You can take that home with you if you want.
Oh, I don't think Sheree would appreciate that.
I don't think she would
I think
either.
that goes in your little workout room.
Oh, workout. So you're not on the nightstand.
Gross.
Imagine a nice ice cold glass of Crystal Light after a workout.
Dad, thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for being a guest.
Glad to be on the show.
This history podcast.
New history podcast.
Right.
I have a blast doing this. This might be my last time, unless the crowds just.
Oh boy!
If you put another Patreon level on above pig butter, DP investor.
Should I come back as a guest?
I don't know. Do people like this? Or reach out and tell me. What do you think? My God!
You know what I'm disappointed in is I get no negative feedback. I have not noticed any negative feedback.
All right, history host.
I bet
You know
I
what
could
to
give you
do.
negative feedback.
Let them have it.
Yeah, please.
If I just I get negative feedback from you, from Kyla, and from Sheree sometimes.
Sometimes.
So that's all I need, though. I don't need negative feedback from the hoes.
Oh, you know what? People have asked, because you and I were going to do a podcast together, Ask an Old White Guy. People always ask what happened with that. I'll tell the hoes right now. This man doxed himself twice.
Well, but you can take that. You've still got that in the can. Why don't you put that out there?
This is a 1 episode podcast.
Yeah, we have 1 episode of this podcast.
Do it as a bonus episode for the history hoes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they might enjoy that.
They might. And
That's all you two. I'm just the guy that hits the record button for that podcast.
Wow. Norm's backing away slowly as we talk. Well, no, thank you for being on.
Yeah, thanks for coming
Had
on.
a blast. Always enjoy spending time with you guys. It's fun. If we can just keep Norman's mind out of the gutter, it'd be nice. But he is what he is.
I know. Unfortunately, it's true.
Yeah.
Dad, you know what they say about history hoes? We always cite our sources. What do you got there?
Okay, here's what I've got to tell you.
Oh,
all those things I made up, they are totally made up. Now, I will say that I didn't bring the page that has my bibliography. I will give it to you, though. You will get my bibliography. Which did include some newspaper articles with titles that would give away what I was saying. So I wasn't able to give you.
Joe, please keep the music going as he's saying all this.
I hope the song's long enough.
Yeah, we can loop it again.
I will not be able to announce them right now. But I will send them to you, and they'll be in the feed.
It's excellent.
That's all for this episode. Thank you for listening to An Old Timey Podcast.
Please give us a 5-star review wherever you listen to podcasts. And while you're at it, subscribe. Support us on Patreon at patreon.com/oldtimeypodcast. Join the Reddit community, r/oldtimeypodcast. Follow us on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram at Old Timey Podcast. You can also follow us individually on Instagram. She is the lovely Kristin Pitts-Caruso. I go by Gaming Historian. DP'd, you out of Instagram you want to plug?
No, he's not on Instagram.
I think I'm on there, but I don't know where it is.
Just search
Very
double
good.
penetration on Instagram. You'll find him.
And until next time, toodaloo, ta-ta, and cheerio.
Bye.
Sexy times.